Hello and welcome to this session. I'm Raghav and you can find all my work on my website automationstepbystep.com. In this session we are going to go very basic from scratch step by step and we will learn what are hooks, why to use hooks, when we should use hooks, and we will also see a very basic step by step demo on how to create and use hooks. We will also see how we can use tags with hooks, conditional hooks, scenario hooks, step hooks, and how we can order hooks, and then we will see some useful tips. So let's get started and let us start with what are hooks. Now in Cucumber we have seen in the earlier sessions that we create scenarios. So let us say that we have a scenario to check the login credentials or check login with valid credentials. Now before we actually do the login steps, that is we log into the application, we have to do some prerequisite or we have to do a setup, that is we have to set the browser and open the browser. So let us say this is kind of a setup for us, and then after the scenario is over we have to close the browser. Now these two steps or these two setup and tear down actions we have to do with every scenario. Suppose we have another scenario to check login with invalid credentials. Even before this login steps we have to open the browser and then we have to close the browser. So whenever you have these common steps like setup and tear down steps that you need to run with every scenario, you will either have to code them within the steps and add them as the steps of the scenario. A better way is we can create a function, a common function for open browser and close browser, and then we can annotate these functions with at before and at after annotation, and I will show you this in a demo in a moment. So you can create two common functions and give these annotations, and then you can have any number of scenarios. These two functions or whatever code you have written in these two functions will run before and after each scenario whenever you run your feature. So this is what actually hooks are. Hooks are functions or blocks of codes that runs before and after each scenario. And then hooks in Cucumber are like listeners in TestNG. If you know TestNG, there are listeners that where we can have setup and tear down that runs before and after each test or each class. Similarly, we have hooks in Cucumber, and hooks can run before and after each scenario and also before and after each step in a scenario, and I will show you that in a demo. So you can define hooks by using these annotations at before and at after. And then we have scenario hooks. We also have step hooks. So scenario hooks runs before and after each scenario, and step hooks runs before and after each step. And then we have conditional hooks where we can associate hooks with tags and then do conditional execution. I will again show you this in a demo. So this is what hooks are. Now with this knowledge, let us move forward and learn why exactly we use hooks. So as we have seen, we can do the management of setup and teardown actions in these functions which are annotated with at before and at after, and these becomes hooks. And it will also help us in avoiding to create or write for these common setup and teardown actions again and again into our features and steps. So we will only write the function once and use it as hooks, and it allows for the better management of the code workflow. So this is why we use hooks. And before we go to the steps of how exactly we use hooks, let us see when we want to use hooks. So whenever you have any common setup or any action that you want to run before and after each scenario or before and after each step in the scenario, you can always use hooks. So this is about what are hooks, why do we use hooks, and when we use hooks. Now let us go to our demo and see how exactly we can use hooks. So the first step is we have to create a new feature file. You can also use any existing feature files. So I will go to my Windows system. You can also use it on Mac, and I will go to my Eclipse, and here is the project that we have been using in the last sessions. So I will first go to src test resources folder, and here I can create a feature file. So for documentation purposes, I'm going to create a new feature file, and I will also create a new folder. So I will do a right click here, go to new and say folder, and I will say hooks demo and finish. And inside this folder now I will again do a right click and say new, and I will create a file. I will select file from here and I will say this is hooks demo.feature. So this is our feature file, and I will say finish, and it has created a feature file with some default data. I will remove everything, delete everything, and I will create a fresh feature. So I will say feature and I will say check login functionality, and then I will create a scenario, and here I will say given user is on login page when user enters valid username and password and clicks on login button, then user is navigated to the home page. So this is my scenario and this is the feature. I will do a right click and say pretty format to correct the formatting, and I will save my project. So I have created a feature file and have created a scenario in the feature file. So this completes step 1. Now step 2 is we have to create the steps for the scenario in the feature file, and then we also have to create the test runner. So let me just first create the test runner file so that I will have these step definition, then I will have the step definition created. So let me just go to src test java folder, and here we have the step definition and we also have the runner file. So I'm just going to create a runner first. If I go to any existing test runner, this is how we have the test runner file or test runner class. I can use the same class or I will create a new one. So in my step definitions package, I will do a right click and say new, and I will create a class. I will say test runner for hooks. Now I am creating a new test runner just for documentation purposes. So when you have this project, I will put this project on GitHub, and if you get this project from GitHub, you will have all these test runners separately created in the project. And I will say finish, and I can copy this code which comes before the class name. This I will just copy from an existing test runner class and put it here. And here I will say the feature. The feature I have to use is this one, hooks demo.feature. So this goes in the, I can also just go here hooks demo.feature. So I can do a right click here and say properties, and this will show me the path here. So I can also get it from here. So I can copy it from here and after resources, this is what I need. So this is my location of the feature file, that is src test resources hooks demo folder and hooks demo.feature file, which is this one here. And then for the glue code or the step definition, what I'm going to do is instead of using this folder, so you can see step definitions, this is the package which is being used. Instead of using this, I'm going to create a new package. The reason I'm doing this is because if I use this package, I already have step definitions which will match the steps of this scenario, that is given user is on login page and all these steps, because we have already created these in the earlier sessions. So that will be a duplicate. So what I will do is I will create a new package and I will say this is steps for hooks, and again this will help in documentation as well. And this is what I will give here. The step definition or the glue code should come from steps for hooks. and I can save everything. And now rest of the things are okay, and I can now run this. I will do a right click, run as JUnit test, and if I check the console now, you will see that it is saying that the steps are not yet implemented and I can implement the missing steps, and it is also giving me the code to implement. And this was the reason I did not create the step definition earlier, so that I could directly copy it from here. So here I will now go to my steps for hooks package, do a right click, new, and create a class, and I will say hooks steps or hooks demo steps, and say finish. And then within the class I'm just going to copy and paste these steps that I copied from the console. I will also correct the formatting. I can select everything using Control A, and then I will press Control I on the keyboard. And now if you see here, it is giving me all these errors because I have not yet imported all the classes that have these annotations at, given, at, when, everything. So I will hover over this and I will import it from, let me show you, I will hover over this given and import it from io.cucumber.java.en. Similarly for when as well, I will import from here, and then I will also import this den from Cucumber libraries, and this can be and, as I have given in my feature file. So I will also import this from Cucumber. So you can see all these imports are here now. So I don't have any errors now in this class. I will also delete all these extra statements. So I will delete all this. What I'm doing is I'm clicking on the line here on the statement and pressing Control D on my keyboard. So if you press Control plus D, this will delete the entire line. If you are on Mac, you can press Command D. So click on the line and press Control D or Command D. It will delete everything. So now I have my step definition file ready. Now if I run my test runner again, it will pass, but nothing will happen because I do not have any code added here. So if I now again go to my test runner, do a right click, run as JUnit test, and you will see everything shows pass, one scenario and 4 steps and everything passed. But as of now I have not added any data or any code inside my steps here. So now I can add some code, but what we need to show here is, or what we need to do here is, we have to do a demo of the hooks. So here let us say before I log into the before I go to the login page, or before I invoke the application or go to the login page, I need to have the browser up and running. So I have to do the setup of the browser. So let me create a function here, and let me expand this and show you. I will create a function public void browser setup. You can name it anything, and here I will say, suppose I have to start a Chrome browser, I will say system dot set property. So I will use this, and I will say webdriver dot chrome dot driver, and here I have to give the location of my chrome driver dot exe. So here I will go and check where I have placed my Chrome driver. So I have my Chrome driver exe here. I will do a right click and go to properties, and this is the location. So I can copy it from here because it is the same project folder. So I just need the relative path. I can copy from here from src, and I can give the location here. So I have set the property webdriver.chrome.driver, and I have provided the location of chrome driver.exe. Now I will say I need to also use the WebDriver, and that I can declare at the top as class variable. I will say WebDriver driver equals null, and I will also have to import it from Selenium, and all these libraries we have already added in the earlier sessions. And the reason I'm declaring this as a class variable so that now I can use this driver in every functions and I will not have to declare it again. So I can use it directly here. I will say driver equals to Chrome driver, or I should say new Chrome driver. So with this I have set up the driver. I can also use some other setup. I can say here driver dot I can say driver dot manage dot timeout dot, we can say here page load timeout, and I will say here let us say 20 seconds, and here I have to use the time unit. So this again is a library. You can see it comes from Java. I have imported this here, or it has directly imported it here, and then I will say time unit is seconds. So I have done the setup for page load timeout. I can similarly say driver dot manage dot timeouts dot implicit wait time, and again I will say here implicit wait time is 10 seconds, so I have to say time unit dot seconds here. And then if I want, I can also say driver dot manage dot window dot maximize if I want to maximize the window before starting the test. So you can see I have created this function which is doing all the setup of the browser and starting the browser, opening the browser before we can actually do our login steps, or we can go to the login page. So this is kind of a hook or a setup, and to make this function as a hook or to run it before every scenario, I have to do the annotation or add the annotation at before. So I will say add before, and you will get an error here. So I will have to hover over this error, and it will give me an option to get this before or import before from io.cucumber.java. So let me use this, and now you will see it has imported this, and it has imported this here. You can see this one. So this is what we need to get it from, and now this function has become a hook, and this will get executed before every scenario in this feature. And let me also put a statement here. I will say syso control spacebar to auto complete the print statement, and I will say I am inside browser setup. And similarly I can create a function called teardown. You can name it anything, and here I will close the browser. So I will say driver dot close and driver dot I will quit the browser, and to run it after every scenario I will use the annotation at after, and I will have to import it from io.cucumber.java. So you will see again here it has imported all these before and after annotations from here, and now we have these two functions which work as hooks for us. So this will execute before every scenario, and this will execute after every scenario in the feature file. So now I will save everything, and here we have done the setup and tear down methods, and we have also marked these methods with the annotation. We can also use before steps and after steps, but before that let me show you this. I will run this and check. So I will go to the test runner, do a right click and run as JUnit test. and you will see it says I am inside before, and there is some error. Let me check the error. Okay, there is a issue with the Chrome driver. So it says the version of Chrome driver only supports version 81, and for this let me check. I will go to some earlier step definition just to ensure that I'm using everything correctly. Alright, so I think this is fine. I just need to change the Chrome driver version. So if I go to my Chrome on my system and go to the settings or go to help and go to about, so the version I have is 84, so I should be getting the Chrome driver accordingly or the same version. So if I say Chrome driver download and go to the Chrome driver download website, and this is for version 84, I will get this one for Windows, and it is here. So I will unzip it or extract it here. I'll just replace it, and it is here. Now I have to put this inside my project folder here, and it is good to go physically to the folder and then do the copy and pasting. Sometimes it creates some issue if you just copy and paste within Eclipse. So I will go to this folder first and go to drivers, and let me just rename this one. I will say this is Chrome driver 1.exe, and then let me go and copy the new Chrome driver exe from downloads. So I'll copy it from here and go to this folder, paste it, and now if I refresh on my Eclipse, I will refresh the drivers folder, and you can see it has come here. So I will try again. I will go to my test runner, do a right click, run as JUnit test, and let us see. So again there is a failure. If I go to the console and check, so it says feature not found. Alright, I think this was a different test runner. Let me go back. Yeah, this is the one. This is the one I'm using. I will do a right click, run as JUnit test, and yes, it is opening the Chrome browser and then maximizing it and then closing it. So if I go to the console and see, so you can see it says I'm inside browser setup. This is our before hook, and then it is setting up the Chrome browser, opening the Chrome browser, and then it is running all the steps of the scenario. And as of now we do not have any code, so it is just running this. These are empty steps, and then it is also running the after hook. And let me also put some print statement in the after hook so that it shows on the console. I will say I am inside teardown, and now if I run the test runner again, I will say run as JUnit test. So it opens the Chrome browser, maximizes and closes, and if I see the console, you can see it says I'm inside browser setup, and then after the scenario it runs I'm inside teardown. So this is running fine. Now let's just say if we have multiple scenarios, let me say we have one more scenario like this. I will just copy and paste and then right click and say pretty format. So we have two scenarios, and if I run the test runner again, I will say run as JUnit test. So you will see the hooks get executed before and after each scenario. So this is the first one, and now it is running the second scenario, and it is opening and closing the Chrome browser. So that means the hooks are getting executed before and after every scenario. So if you see here, it is saying I'm inside browser setup, then running the scenario, and then the after hook, I'm inside teardown. Then before the start of the second scenario, again it is running the before hook, and then it is running the after hook. So this is how you can use hooks before and after every scenario by using at before and at after annotation. And then if you have to run something before and after every step, you can again create a function and then annotate it with before steps and after steps. So if I create another function here, let me just create another function. I will say public static void before steps. You can name it anything, and I will just print out I'm inside before steps, and I will annotate it with at before. And if I press control spacebar, you can see auto suggestions. Now make sure that you may find at before from some other libraries as well, like JUnit, but we have to get it from the Cucumber library. This is the Cucumber library at before, and then similarly I will create a function public static, or I can just say public void, and I will say after steps, and then I will say print the statement I'm inside after steps, and then I will do the annotation. I will add the annotation at after steps. Sorry, this should be before steps. That was my mistake. It should be before step annotation, and here it should be after step annotation. So if I press control spacebar, it is auto completing, and you will also see it has also added these import statements. So now if I run my scenario again, if I run the test runner, I will do a right click and run the test runner, and you will see now in the console, so it is running first scenario, and now it is running the second scenario. And if I see the console, you will find here that the before and after functions are executed before and after every scenario, but the before steps and after step functions are executed before and after every step of the scenario, and this happens for both the scenarios. So this is how we can use the annotations before, after, before steps, after steps. We have already created the test runner, and we have also executed and checked our execution. So this is how we can use. Now we can also use conditional hooks, and here before I show you conditional hooks, one very important thing that you can use is we can actually use multiple before and after functions or multiple hooks, and we can also do the ordering of the hooks. For example, if I create one more function, I will say public void, and I will say this is setup to, and I will just print out I am inside setup to, and I will say backslash n, this is for next line, and here I will annotate it with at before. Now here we have two functions which have annotations at before. Now generally it will get executed in the sequence of alphabetic order of the names, but if I want to set the order, I can say here order equals 1, and here I can say order equals to, or I can also say 0, so that this gets executed before this function. And if I save and run the test runner, I'll say run as JUnit test, and let us see the output. So this is running the first scenario and the second scenario. And if I go to the console now, you will see here it is first running I am inside setup 2, that is the before function that has a lower sequence of order, and then it is running the I am inside browser setup. The same you can use with after annotation, but then it will work in a reverse sequence. So for example, if you are using order with after, let us say I say here this is my after function. I will use one more function here. I will say public void teardown 2, and here I will say I'm inside teardown 2, and here I will say at after order equals 0 or order equals 2, and here I will say order equals 1. Now in this case, when doing the teardown, this will get executed earlier. I'm inside teardown 2 and then I'm inside teardown. Let us check this. I will run the test runner again, and this is scenario 2, and if I check the console, you can see it is first running I'm inside teardown 2 and then I'm inside teardown. So this is how it works, and you can use any number here. It works in the sequence of numbering. So for example, if I say here -1 order equals -1, even this is fine, this will work and this will get executed as per the sequence as we have seen. So you can use negative numbers or any number, it will work as per the sequence. Now let us go to conditional hooks, and conditional hooks means we can use tags with hooks. So hooks can be conditionally selected for execution based on the tags of the scenario, and if you want to run a particular hook only for certain scenario, you can associate before or after hook with tag expression, and this is how you can use tags with all these annotated functions. So let me show you an example. If I go to my feature file, I will tag the scenario. I will tag this first scenario. I will say at smoke, and I'm only tagging scenario, this first scenario with at smoke tag. Now if I go to my steps, I can say here to run this, I just want to run this for the at smoke tag scenario. So I will say here at smoke, and now if I run this, if I run the test runner, let us see the output. So it is running the first scenario and it is opening the browser, and the second one is failed, and that is because it did not open the browser or set up the browser for the second scenario, as it was not annotated with @smoke, and we have said that this setup or browser setup should only run for the @smoke annotated scenario. And if I see the console, you can see here the browser setup runs only for the first scenario and it does not run for the second scenario. And if you want, you can also use this for at before steps, at after, or at after steps as well. So it will work for everything. You can also use it along with orders. So if I say order here, you will have to use it with value. So you will have to say value equals at smoke and order equals 1. So this will work for this will work with order as well. So you can use conditional hooks or you can use hooks with tags, and it will work for all the hooks, all these annotated functions. And if you have to use tags along with order, this is the syntax how you can use it. And you can use all the combinations of tags as we have learned in the earlier session. So if you want to use any conditions or you want to use any multiple tags, you can use that. All this we have learned in the earlier sessions. So now if we look at some useful tips, so ordering of the hooks, we have already seen that we can order the hooks, we can use this order and give the number so that we can assign an order of execution. And then whatever happens in the hooks is invisible to the people who read the feature. So if you see here, in the feature, we have nowhere mentioned that we are doing the setup of the browser before the scenario. It is nowhere mentioned that we are closing and quitting the browser after the scenario. And the same will be shown in the results. It will not show the hooks. It will only show that all these steps that you have executed in the feature or the scenario. And therefore, we say that whatever happens in the hooks is invisible to the people who read the features, and therefore only use hooks for low level logic such as starting browser, deleting a data from database, starting or stopping a database. And if you need anything that should be visible to the people who are reading the features or who need to know what is exactly happening before or after a scenario, we can use background. So it is a more explicit alternative for hooks, and this is what we will learn in the next session. And then the function of your hooks or the function name that you annotate with hooks or add before and add after annotation, you can keep anything. It is not mandatory to keep it like setup or teardown. You can name it anything, and hooks will get executed even if the test fails. So even if your steps in your scenario fails, hooks will always get executed. And we have also already seen that we need to import these two libraries. So this is for before and after hooks, and then if you need before and after steps, this is what we need to import. So these are the import statements that you should be having, and make sure that it is coming from io.cucumber. So these are the useful tips, and I hope now you know everything about hooks and you can use hooks in Cucumber. I hope this was very useful. If you have any questions, any doubts, you can write in the Q&A or the comment section, and I will try to reply as soon as I can. And I will meet you in the next session. Thank you for watching.